Hi, I'm Jill Colgrove, and I wanted to take some time and talk with you a little bit about stress. I know that sounds silly because we all experience stress and we all kind of know what that is. And you know, stress really can be a positive thing. Stress keeps us alert, it keeps us aware, and it keeps us ready to avoid danger. However, stress becomes concerning when it becomes a negative factor in our life. Stress is a very normal reaction that our body gives to any kind of a change that requires an adjustment or a response. So you think about how many times we experience that in a day or in a week. And again, stress becomes concerning when it's negative. That's when like a person continuously faces challenges without a relief or without being able to relax or deal and manage with that stress in a healthy way. Stress that continues without any kind of relief or coping skills can lead to a condition that's called distress. Distress can start to lead to a lot of physical problems. This can be things such as headaches, it can be an upset stomach, it can be chest pains, and it can even lead to high blood pressure. One of the things about stress is that it affects all areas of our life. So it's not just our emotions, our behaviors, our physical health, but also how we are able to think and process and make decisions. Sometimes those symptoms of stress can be vague, and sometimes they can be mimicked as different medical conditions. So again, the most important thing is, how are we going to handle stress? We want to be able to know what our symptoms are and how can I identify some healthy ways to manage those symptoms. So let's take a minute and talk about some symptoms. Symptoms of stress might be constant worrying. We could be having racing thoughts where it feels like we have 16 thoughts going on and they just won't stop, that we can't get relief from that. Sometimes stress leads to forgetfulness or disorganization. Sometimes stress leads to an inability to focus or concentrate. Sometimes we start making poor decisions or our judgment becomes off. Sometimes if we start feeling like we're very pessimistic, we tend to see only the negative side of things and we're having a hard time seeing the positive side. Can definitely be another sign of stress. Some behavior symptoms is noticing a change in our appetite. Maybe we're eating more, we're eating less. Sometimes we might procrastinate, maybe more than what we might typically procrastinate. Sometimes we might avoid different responsibilities we have, or again, pushing them off until we just can't push them off any longer, and then they're not near as thorough or as effective as what we're able to be. Sometimes stress leads to someone showing signs of more nervous behavior. Maybe somebody starts biting their nails more, or they're more fidgety or pacing. Long-term stress, if not managed, can lead to some pretty serious mental health problems such as depression or anxiety. Sometimes it can lead to some physical health problems, as I mentioned before, like high blood pressure, heart disease, heart attacks, and even stroke. Stress also can create problems with our skin and develop different skin conditions, or with different hair problems such as our hair falling out. Stress also leads to gastrointestinal problems such as heartburn or indigestion or gastritis. And so when we start thinking about this stress and how do we manage that, what we want to do is start looking at one thing at a time. Sometimes taking on all of our stressors becomes overwhelming in itself. So what we want to do is be able to think about what is the top 2 things that I'm being stressed about. And I focus on those 2 and I come up with a plan to manage those. And I take those on and put the others to the side for the time being. Sometimes managing stress also is being able to, what I like to call, delegate, is we don't have to take all of those tasks on by ourselves. Sometimes we have to ask for help, and that's hard, but asking somebody that's a close friend, a family, maybe a church member, a neighbor, people are usually pretty willing to jump in and help us out. Another thing that we can do is sometimes just learn to say no. Sometimes we really like to help and we want to be able to be involved and we want to be able to contribute, but sometimes we just have to say no. And that takes one less thing off of our plate that helps us alleviate stress. Another great tool for managing stress is really taking time to devote to some exercise. And when I say exercise, maybe that means just going for a casual walk around the block. Maybe that means going for a bike ride. Maybe that means just walking up and down the stairs an extra 2 times. If we can do something to be able to get our heart rate up just a little bit, tends to allow us to take a deep breath and allows our body to relax. Another way to manage stress is making sure that we are not losing focus of ourself. Is we still have to make sure we are cutting out time for just us. Doing something that we find enjoyable, something that we find relaxing. Even if it's only for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, is to carve out that time just for us. That can be reading a book, that can be doing a craft project, maybe it's reading a magazine. Maybe it's also just looking at a recipe of something that I want to make for supper or a special treat that I want to be able to make because I enjoy baking. So again, cutting out that time for ourselves as well as also taking care of our bodies. Getting enough sleep, getting enough rest becomes crucial for our body to be able to unwind and to be able to reprogram and take force the next day with the next set of things that face us, both positive and negative.